This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Hour number 2 upon you right here on ESPN Radio. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY ESPN. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest. We disagreed and butted heads a little bit this morning on First Take, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm talking about Super Bowl champion himself, the one and only Ryan Clark is on the line with us right now. What's going on, big time? How are you?
Oh, nothing much, man. You just felt like disagreeing with me. You know, I think you came in this morning with the mindset, I'm not going to agree with anything that Ryan says, no matter how right he is, and it's okay.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I usually do have that attitude with Max Kellerman because no matter how intellectual he sounds, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and half the time, neither do us. We don't know what the hell he's talking about. But in the case of you, we can't say such a thing. But Ryan Clark, I got to ask you this question. Let's get to the big game that is the Jaguars versus the New England Patriots. We can walk away with this imagery of Tom Brady. Tom and his greatness comes shining through yet again. What resonates with me is that, obviously, but it's also a Jacksonville Jaguars defense ranked number 2 in yards, number 2 in points allowed, number 1 against the rush that couldn't close the deal. What happened?
The Patriots made the necessary plays and necessary adjustments. If you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they expected to come out in the second half and do exactly what they did in the first, which is why they took a knee right before the half because they expected to get the ball first, come out and get things moving. The Patriots made an adjustment where they dogged the back, which meant on the play action pass, they rushed the passer. And so they allowed their defensive backs to not only not have to cover as long, but to play a little more press man, be in the face of the wide receivers. The Jags never made an adjustment. Their adjustment was to just give the ball to Leonard Fournette against a packed box. And so now you go to the other side, you lose Gronkowski. So you have to find somebody else to make plays. Danny Amendola owned the middle of the field against the Jacksonville Jaguars with the quick crossers, with the running the back line in the back of the end zone when Tom Brady hits him on the second touchdown. He made the plays offensively. Now you go defensively. James Harrison with the big sack. Stephon Gilmore with a heck of a play on the ball that Max Kellerman is saying was underthrown, but you're talking about a guy chasing a player from the right side of the field to the left sideline, getting air and making the one-hand pass deflection. Now, you have a chance as the Jacksonville Jaguars, Stephen A., on 3rd and 9 to get the ball back. You know the New England Patriots want to run the ball to make you use your last time out, and you give up 18 yards because the Patriots, they make blocks, they get to the second level, but when you're the second-ranked defense in the NFL, when you're the guys that are saying, you know, you're going to be playing in the Super Bowl and you're going to win it, you have to make that play, you have to make that stop and give Blake Bortles a chance, and they just didn't do it.
Well, it's interesting because you brought up how Danny Amendola owed the middle of the field. Basically, what you explained earlier, Gronkowski goes down. You know what that with the corners that Jacksonville has, New England and their personnel on the outside, that wasn't going to work for New England, so they were going to have to attack the middle of the field. How do you let Amendola do what he ended up doing if you're Jacksonville's elite defense?
I think, you know, it's a matter of play call. It's a matter of understanding how you'll be attacked. You have to know that they won't go at Ramsey on the outside. They won't go at Boye on the outside. They're going to use the middle of the field, not only because you're so good as Jacksonville at the corner, but where is the player that Tom Brady is most comfortable with? He's on the inside, and Danny Amendola once Gronk is out. And they utilized everything they could to make sure the middle of the field was open, whether it was James White vacating out of the backfield, Tom Brady using his eyes to get Miles Jack to come off, to get Telvin Smith to extend a little bit so you hit Danny Amendola for 18 yards across the middle on a 3rd and 18. They did everything correct, and Jacksonville never had an adjustment off of it because of the play design of Josh McDaniels and the New England Patriots. And when you're put together the way the Jacksonville Jaguars are, through the draft and through free agency, you have to commend them. But those players didn't make the plays in the fourth quarter that they're expected to make because of their talent and also because of what they put on film throughout the year.
We're talking to Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get into the NFC Championship game and what we witnessed. You want to give the Eagles all the credit in the world. I'm certainly not trying to take anything away from them. Nick Foles was absolutely sensational, but I'm seeing a 53-yard touchdown to Alshon Jeffrey where he was wide open. I'm seeing a Torrey Smith scoring the flea flicker. I'm seeing Zach Ertz with a 36-yard pass scampering down the left sideline. These are things that I did not see the Minnesota Vikings give up all year long with the exception of one play. all year long, we didn't see this from the Minnesota Vikings, but it happened last night at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. How do you explain that?
I think the Minnesota Vikings pressed a little bit when they got behind, but if you look at the play design and the way that chronologically the plays were called by Doug Peterson, he goes up top to Torrey Smith early on a drop on Trey Waynes, which is obviously a guy they seem to want to target throughout the night. He gets the drop, but he stays with it. Then you go to some RPOs, getting the ball, run pass options, getting the ball out of Nick Foles' hands very quickly. Then you come with the double moves. You see the dig and go by Alshon Jeffrey when he beats Terrence Newman. Nick Foles makes room in the pocket, throws a strike down the field. Also, the flea flicker to Torrey Smith. You watch Trey Waynes. He looks in the backfield. He stops. Torrey Smith takes off. It's a dime by Nick Foles. The Minnesota Vikings come into this game expecting to win, thinking they're the better team, talking about being a team of destiny. Well, after you go down and score, you're feeling really good. You drive right down the field, and Chris Long makes an amazing play. Patrick Robinson gets the interception, gets the pick six, and you see the momentum in the stadium change. Stephen A., you were there. I'm sure you could hear that roar for miles and miles away from that stadium. And the game changed on that play. And after that, Doug Peterson got rolling, the Eagles got rolling, the fans got involved, and the Minnesota Vikings had a look of bewilderment, a look of not being able to figure out how to stop this avalanche of the Philadelphia Eagles. And you have to give the Eagles credit for their preparation, their ability to stick to the game plan, but also the ability to execute.
How good do you feel this Philadelphia Eagles defense is? Because this isn't Case Keenum that they're going to be going up against in the Super Bowl. It's going to be Tom Brady.
You know, I'm still nervous. And here's why I say that.
Nervous for who?
For the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Here's why I say that. This team at home has been amazing throughout the year. The difference in the points they give up scoring and the turnovers that are created between home and away is monumental. Now, I know this is a neutral field game, but I do think they find comfort playing in Lincoln, playing in Philadelphia. And if you look at Seattle, Los Angeles, New York Giants, down the stretch, away from Philadelphia, this team didn't play very well. They didn't play very well outside the numbers at the corner position. They didn't rush the passer extremely well. And now you go against Tom Brady. You don't have the comforts of being in your home stadium. Will these guys step up? Will they make the plays necessary as we've seen them do the last 2 weeks of the playoffs? And I need to see them go out and do it. How this game starts early on, how they match up with Gronk, whether he's split out, with Hogan, with Cooks, how the corners do. Do they get pressure on Tom Brady? Do they move him off of his spot? What happens in the first quarter will tell the tale of this game, because we know if you take the Patriots into deep water, there's enough people on that defensive line of rotation that they won't get tired like the Atlanta Falcons. But if you lose it early, if you can't stay close early, this game could be a blowout.
If New England were to lose to the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 52, what would be the reason in your estimation? Prognosticating, looking ahead.
To me, if they lose, that means the front four, Fletcher Cox, Chris Long, Barnett of the Philadelphia Eagles dominate this game. Whenever we see Tom Brady struggle, it's because he's getting pressured up the middle and there's press man-to-man coverage outside. It only works if you move Tom Brady off his spot. It only works if Tom Brady doesn't have time. If they lose this game, much like the Super Bowls against the New York Giants, it'll be the ability to create a pass rush, the ability to hit Tom Brady and force him into bad throws. If they can do that up front, that's the only thing that gives the Philadelphia Eagles a chance.
Before I let you get on out of here, and we're talking to Ryan Clark, NFL analyst for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Steve Wilks, defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, is rumored to be the next head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Assuming it goes down like that, what are your thoughts about that hire?
I think it's a good hire. I'll be honest, and you know, both of you and I have been unapologetic about supporting black coaches.
Yes, sir.
And
the opportunities, them getting opportunities, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've been, and so I think this is awesome. I think this is an opportunity where the Arizona Cardinals went about finding their coach the correct way, went about the interview process the correct way. Went into the interview process saying, we're not going to recycle coaches. We're going to find the best coach for our team. And if you look at the pieces they already have defensively, the people they have there, now you bring in a coach who understands that, but also a coach who has been with a winning program, who has seen Cam Newton, who has seen Ron Rivera and these different people be successful. I think this is a great move by the Cardinals and hopefully a great move for Coach Wilks.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Continue the great work. I'll see you soon, probably on NFL Live today, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Keep it going, my man. Thank you so much.
Have a good one, bro.
All right, my man. The one and only Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Number to call, as always, is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Still lots to get into in regards to the AFC and NFC championship game. Super Bowl 52, the New England Patriots rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles dating back to 2004 when they both met in Jacksonville. You know, when Donovan McNabb was out on the field doing well, but still throwing up in the process. And Terrell Owens on one leg was balling better than anybody, but the Eagles still managed to lose. What's going to happen in this upcoming Super Bowl? It's too early to make predictions, but that shouldn't stop anybody from giving you your initial thoughts about this. So we'll get into that, plus some more NBA stuff. LeBron and the Cavs, a world of trouble. The Golden State Warriors, are they in some trouble in light of what we're seeing from the Houston Rockets? So much NBA stuff to get into as well. And obviously NFL with Super Bowl 52. Now we know who's playing against one another. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at progressive.com today. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. No contracts. Look, you know, I watched the Golden State Warriors, the reigning defending NBA champions, go up against the Houston Rockets Saturday night. And I must confess to you, I got real excited to see CP3 and James Harden. You got to remember, James Harden, just a game earlier, had come back from a 7-game absence. He was on a minutes restriction, 30 minutes. I loved watching D'Antoni say, damn that. We trying to win this game. And with 4 minutes left, put James Harden right back up in there. I loved that. And that big shot he hit over Steph Curry, it is what it is because James Harden is a superstar. It's just that simple. But the thing about it is watching CP3 play the way that he's played, I don't know about anybody else, but Chris Paul's an MVP candidate to me. When you look at the way Houston is balling, and you look at what the Clippers are without him, and you look at how Houston seems fit to go up against the Golden State Warriors. Golden State's still a favorite. I still don't see Golden State losing a series to the Houston Rockets, but I must admit I am intrigued. I can't front with that. I'm definitely intrigued. I can't omit that. I can't dismiss that. I'm definitely intrigued. It's important to point that out. But on First Take this morning with my man Max Kellerman, one of the questions that we asked was whether or not the Golden State Warriors or the Cleveland Cavaliers, which team was in more trouble. Max said Golden State because he considers Houston to be that big of a threat. I'm an OKC guy, but I'm not dismissing Houston either. I think the problem with OKC is their bench. That starting five, I think they'd be hell for Golden State. I really do. But you need to rest at some point. And the Raymond Feltons and Pattersons of the world and others, they got to be able to come through for you. And I'm not sure they can. In the case of the Houston Rockets, there's more depth, there's more shooters. And they can get into more of a shootout with Golden State than any other team. San Antonio, I don't know what the hell is going on with them right now. Other than to say that Kawhi Leonard is an upstanding citizen and the Spurs are a first-class organization. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on anybody. But it doesn't look good when a player is complaining about the treatment he's receiving because he's basically claiming he doesn't trust your medical staff. That doesn't look good. But it's not often that we hear complaint about the San Antonio Spurs. And I can't think of a coach who's more protective of his players and their well-being than Greg Popovich. So you're not about to hear me cast any aspersions on the San Antonio Spurs. It's just not going to happen. You got to show me evidence. Other than that, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've earned it. But Kawhi Leonard earns it too. That's why we need to just mind our business and let's see it play out. Because this is an injury. We don't know. But getting back to the comparisons, I would tell you that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a world of trouble. Now, let me be very, very clear, because I did Final Take today on ESPN's First Take. And I wanted my producers to play the Final Take for you before I really tell you what I'm trying to say. Before I get into the logistical issues involving LeBron, let me first tell you what I'm saddened by as it pertains to Coach Tyronn Lue for the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was my Final Take today on ESPN's First Take, which airs every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. This is my Final Take. Listen to what I have to say here. Shocking news to report. LeBron James is not responsible for everything. He isn't responsible for the cold weather in the Northeast. He isn't responsible for some meteorite that appeared in Michigan just a few days ago. And he damn sure isn't responsible for the vitriol and diminished ratings that's been aimed in the direction of the NFL, courtesy of Colin Kaepernick's protest during the national anthem. But here is what LeBron James does harbor some responsibility for: the future of Tyronn Lue as coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Forget all the stats, the numbers, the visual displays that prove LeBron James is the best in the world. And please, please, please forget for a moment his generosity and social consciousness that makes him undoubtedly the preeminent role model in the entire world of sports, as far as I'm concerned. For a moment, remember instead that LeBron James is the self-proclaimed leader of a franchise that's been to 3 straight NBA Finals, who watched with virtual nonchalance as his marquee sidekick Kyrie Irving successfully demanded his way out of Cleveland, and that it is LeBron James who finds himself on a different page with owner Dan Gilbert, yet again, leaving the careers of others mired in stagnation. What exactly is Coach Tyronn Lue supposed to do with this bunch? You've got LeBron, who won't commit to staying in Cleveland past this season, a starting shooting guard in J.R. Smith struggling to score in double digits, a reserve in Tristan Thompson trying to learn how to be a reserve, a miniature scoring machine in Isaiah Thomas looking for $200 million despite being a defensive liability due solely to his size, and a coach stuck in the middle of all this, made even worse by the fact that his pseudo-boss, LeBron, isn't on the same page as his real boss, owner Dan Gilbert, which appears to be putting Lue's job in jeopardy. If we learn that Gilbert isn't thinking about Lue, that shouldn't come as a shock. Former coach David Blatt was Gilbert's guy, remember that? Not Tyronn Lue. Plus, Gilbert's vitriol for LeBron conceivably outweighs everything. So there will always be sacrificial lambs where Gilbert is concerned. But for LeBron to have anything to do with potential troubles concerning Lue is, well, troubling. Why? Because it means that in spite of his public vote of confidence for Lue, along with that of several other players on Lue's behalf, evidently the king isn't thinking as much about the position his coach has been put in as much as he should. That's not only unfortunate, it's sad. And it'll be even worse than that if Lue loses his job because of all of this nonsense. That was my take in regards to Tyronn Lue and the role LeBron James may or may not be playing in all of this. I'll elaborate on that even further in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Hey, that little diatribe I went on before playing my Final Take for you guys. Well, that was brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. And before I get back into my point, I want to ask you all a question, or basically tell you something that you need to know. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. I played that Final Take for you because that's going to be the fallout potentially for Tyronn Lue because of what's transpiring with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe they've lost 9 of their last 12 games. 2 of their 3 wins came against the Orlando Magic, which isn't knocking anybody's socks off, obviously. And it's shaking the team more than anything in recent memory. If you go to NBA.com right now, look at my man David Aldridge, my buddy David Aldridge, for years has done an outstanding job covering the National Basketball Association. He speaks. You should listen. He knows what the hell he's talking about. He's got an article in NBA.com right now. It says, pick in Cleveland Cavaliers pocket makes trade possible and other things murky. Essentially that, if you remember with the Kyrie Irving trade, Cleveland sent Kyrie Irving to Boston. In exchange, they got Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Cizic, a 2020 second rounder, and the 2018 first round pick from Brooklyn. It's unprotected, which means the more Brooklyn wins, the less valuable it probably makes the pick. See, what happens is this. Kobe Altman is a rookie general manager for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if he wants to make a move to improve the team, he needs to give up that 2018 first round pick. The problem with that is he's got to get the approval of Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert, while not impossible and resolute in his unwillingness to let go of the pick, rather, he's not resolute with that. The point is, he's relatively defiant because his mentality is, why should I do a damn thing for LeBron James? This is what's going on in Cleveland. LeBron James is the greatest player in the world, who's been 8 straight NBA finals. LeBron James spoke to Dan Gilbert before the season began, when the Cleveland Cavaliers were interested in entertaining Kyrie's demands to be traded. LeBron told Dan Gilbert he wants to stay with the troops that we have. He's ready to go to war with them. He spoke out against letting go of Kyrie. Dan Gilbert wasn't trying to hear it because Dan Gilbert in exchange asked LeBron James, are you willing to commit to the next 3 to 5 years? And LeBron was not willing to commit. So Dan Gilbert said, damn that. If that's the case, we're going to fall apart anyway. So let me use some assets that we have available to us and go from there. And that's what he used Kyrie for, to get what he got in Isaiah, in Crowder, in Cizic, in a 2020 second rounder, and in the unprotected first round pick from Brooklyn for this coming June. And the reason why you see Gilbert playing hardball, and the reason why I wrote the final take that I wrote, is because Tyronn Lue is stuck in the middle of this garbage. So is Kobe Altman, the general manager. Kobe Altman is a rookie GM. He's a rookie GM. You got the best player in the world on one side and the man that cuts your checks on another. Say what you want about Dan Gilbert, but you can't say he doesn't cut the check. The man has given LeBron everything LeBron has asked for, with the exception of what transpired this summer with Kyrie. And the reason he didn't capitulate to LeBron's wishes with Kyrie is because LeBron would not commit. Now, LeBron is not wrong for not committing. It's his future and it's his life. And he steps on the court every day and shows you he's the best in the world. So we get that part. But the flip side to it is that LeBron is concerned about his future. And it's had a contagious effect on the rest of the team. Because while LeBron is worth over $500 million, and while LeBron has money out the wazoo, and while LeBron is set for generations and has all the power in the world as a professional athlete, there's a bevy of others with no such luck. J.R. Smith can't score in double digits barely to save his life. He's your starting shooting guard. Because he was perplexed and a bit chagrined that he was relegated to the bench once D. Wade arrived. Took him a little while to get over that. Still hasn't found his shot. Kevin Love's trying to adjust to being in the starting lineup, playing a 5 as opposed to playing a 4 like he customarily played. Tristan Thompson is a reserve, still trying to learn how to be a reserve because he never had to be a reserve before. Plus, he's with a Kardashian. Make of that what you will. Isaiah Thomas is looking for a $200 million contract or close to it, but he's 5'9" and he's a defensive liability. And if you didn't know that before, you damn sure know it after Saturday night. I hope he gets paid because the brother could play. And he deserves money because he's been underpaid for years. But we all know how this works. They use an excuse to lowball you, and they'll have some for him this summer. And then, of course, you got a situation where you got all of that going on and Tyronn Lue stuck in the middle. Because all of those different agendas are things that he has to maneuver through while still answering to a pseudo boss in LeBron and a real boss in Dan Gilbert who cuts the checks. And LeBron coming out, well, he supports Tyronn Lue. Oh, whatever. And I'm not questioning that he supports him because I know he does. I'm just saying it means nothing because it's not going to stop Gilbert from doing what Gilbert wants to do. And I sincerely doubt that LeBron James is going to cut a check for Tyronn Lue, paying him what Gilbert's paying him. So what you really, really need is for LeBron and Gilbert to get on the same page, but it doesn't seem like that's possible unless LeBron is willing to commit to Cleveland for years to come, which he clearly is not willing to do. That, to me, is endangering everything because Toronto is no joke. DeMar DeRozan's got a jump shot now. Boston is no joke. And God help everybody if they find a way to get their hands on Anthony Davis. God help everybody. That better not happen. They get Anthony Davis with Kyrie and they keep either Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Look the hell out. I'm telling you now. And believe it or not, even though I wouldn't bet on them by a long shot, I'm still not going to summarily dismiss the Washington Wizards. Because I believe in that team. I just think that Wall and Bill got to get on the same page. I think there's too many individual agendas going on as opposed to a collective effort to just win. But when you are as dysfunctional as the Cleveland Cavaliers have appeared, hell, anybody could beat you at that point. And that's what we're witnessing right now. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
That's right. That's right. 1-800-Flowers.com always has something to surprise her. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Plus a vase absolutely free. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. ESPN Radio is also presented by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business is a big deal. Cover what you've worked so hard for. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com. 48 minutes past hour number 2 back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Before we get on out of here, let's get to the calls real quick, please. Let's go to Mike and Cali. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead real quick, Mike.
What's going on, Stephen A? How you doing, man?
I'm good. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I got to agree with you on the whole Cavaliers situation real quick. LeBron James doesn't want to commit to 3 long-term deal, 3-5 years with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I agree with you. This is going to put Tyronn Lue in a bad spot. But the question is, can they trade for DeAndre Jordan? Do you want to get somebody like him where now offenses don't run through the center anymore? He's not a guy who's going to put you over the top, to win a championship. And really, how much does LeBron James have left? Does he have the clutch factor?
Well, I don't think we should be questioning how much LeBron has left because he's still the best in the world. So even if he dipped a little bit, he's still one of the greatest ever. But I do think that you got to ask yourself, DeAndre Jordan, why would you need him if you're trying to win a championship when he's a rim protector and a rebounder against a Golden State Warriors team that you don't need rim protection against? He can't block jump shots and 3-point shots. Why bother? So I don't think if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers that you need that, and that's a move you need to be thinking of making. I think that DeAndre Jordan is a more glorified version of Tristan Thompson.
Exactly. My last question for you, this is Stephen A. Is there any way they can trade that 2018 unprotected pick from the Nets, maybe Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love to get Anthony Davis, even though Anthony Davis is due $25 million next year?
It might be possible. It depends. I mean, listen, Kevin Love's right up there. So certainly if you talk about the combination of Kevin Love with Tristan and a 2018 first round pick, you know what? I mean, that's something. But then again, you got to ask yourself this question. Is Anthony Davis going to want to stay in Cleveland if LeBron is gone. Because if LeBron is gone, then Anthony Davis is just in a different situation in a colder city than New Orleans. That's the way to look at it. Appreciate the call. Jay in Arkansas, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Stephen A? Yeah, I'm calling about the Cleveland thing, too. Tyronn Lue, I think he is in a bad spot, but do you think it's because maybe he's not getting that rotation right on these guys and everybody wants playing time and all that? You know? I don't think he is. I don't think he's getting a lot of things right, but I don't know if it's entirely his fault. It's his responsibility. But when you look at the guys that are in the way that they're playing, they just don't play defense. They're just not playing. They give up 148 points Saturday, man. 140. How the hell do you score 124 points and still lose by 25? Oh, that's crazy.
That don't make no damn sense.
Let me say this one other thing. Was that a weak move that he showed? Like, when Wade had to go to him and tell him, "Hey, I go back to the bench," rather than saying, "Hey, this is how I want it. Do it like this."
We don't know. We don't know the particulars of that. It could be perceived that way. It might be accurate, but we don't know the particulars about that. For me personally, Dwayne Wade should have arrived and been coming off the bench to begin with for this reason above all else. Certainly he's a future Hall of Famer. D Wade is one of the great players we've seen in the game of basketball. But he's also a consummate professional who could adjust to any scenario. The fact is, J.R. Smith was not. Even though J.R. Smith is a former sixth man of the year, J.R. Smith is a guy that got accustomed to being in that starting lineup, hearing his name called, and he got caught up in all of that. And so as a result of it, when you relegate him to the bench, it's going to be taken differently. Tyronn Lue, if he's guilty of anything, it's that he should have known that D Wade would be able to handle a role coming off the bench much, much better than J.R. Smith at this point in his career. He should not have had to figure that out once he tried something new. He should have known that wasn't going to be something that J.R. was going to be able to handle. That's just my personal opinion. But other than that, I respect the hell out of Tyronn Lue. It's just that I think he's in an untenable situation right now, and I don't know how it's going to pan out for him right now because I really don't know whether or not Dan Gilbert is going to sit up there and get rid of him just to spite LeBron. I don't put nothing past Dan Gilbert right now. I really don't. Let's go to Jordan in Washington. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Big Time?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Hey, okay, so yesterday, good job, Eagles. They did exactly what they're supposed to do. They put the chokehold on and kept it.
My man, I'm sorry to interrupt. You got 30 seconds, bro, so just ask what you need to ask. Because I got to get out of here.
And then Tom Brady, he's as great as he is, so that would be awesome. And one more thing. 13 years ago when the Eagles played the Patriots, my baby girl was born. She is now 13. She turned 13 yesterday. Is there any way you can give her a shout-out birthday for me?
What's her name?
Her name is Matea.
Her name is Mutea?
No, Matea. M-A-T-A-Y-A.
Matea. Matea, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Matea. I hope you're a beautiful young lady. I know you are, and I know you listen to your daddy. It's a special daddy that's going to call up on a national radio show to ask me to give a shout out to you when he didn't know what I would say. So that's a brave, brave man. But you know something? Your daddy does know this. Stevie A love the kids. Stevie A definitely love the kids. He sure does. Happy birthday, girl. I'll talk to the rest of y'all 22 hours from now. Until then, peace and love, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, it's Will Kane. I don't want to hear any of this garbage about the Jaguars being robbed, about the officiating. If you're talking about that today, you just hate greatness. It's the Will Kane Show on ESPN Radio at 3 Eastern.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.